So excited that you're all able to join me for this very important conversation about ACEs, common language, and restorative justice. And we're going to jump right into this conversation because 10 minutes isn't a whole lot of time, my people. But with that stated, I do have two questions I was wanting to ask before we moved on. My first question is raise your hand if you've heard about this small little thing known as the COVID-19 pandemic. Yeah, right. Everyone here should be raising their hand. And if you aren't raising your hand, I need to know what kind of Kool-Aid you've been drinking for the past 16 months, my dudes. My second question is this. Raise your hand if you know of every single thing that's taken place in every single one of your students' lives since they first went to quarantine. And if you're raising your hand right now, I don't know if we should be impressed or scared, but come see, come saw. We're going to jump right into this conversation. Let's dive right in. I know most of us as educational leaders are very aware of what ACEs are, adverse childhood experiences. And students get these adverse childhood experiences when they experience something traumatic. So we can see, I have like a metaphor picture right here at the bottom. On the left is a student that has never experienced any form of adverse childhood experiences, right? They still have to go up this hill, and school is this hill. In school, they have to learn how to read, they have to learn new math, they have to learn new concepts, they have to learn how to control their emotions. And on the right side is we see a student who's experienced ACEs. They still have to go up that same hill, but with extra baggage and extra weight on their shoulders. And so our goal as educators and as professionals is to provide equitable tools and resources and opportunities to help take some of that weight off of our students who have experienced ACEs. And I hate to say it, but every student is going to be coming and returning to our schools with some form of ACEs. No one in our lifetime has ever experienced a pandemic like this before. And so some of those students are going to come back. They're going to come back and they're going to have, some of them are going to have lost family members. Some of them may have been abused mentally or physically since they got put into the quarantine. And no matter what, all students are going to come back as survivors of a pandemic, and we're going to have to work with them to help process those emotions and those feelings and what happened. I like to show off this brain as a demonstration that a student, right? So here we have our thinking brain and our emotional brain. And students who have experienced very minimal to no ACEs at all will typically come into the building with their brain fully intact. They're able to think, they're ready to learn. But our students who have experienced traumatic forms of adverse childhood experiences might be coming into our building with their, what I like to call a flip lid, right? Like their thinking brain is not there. They're in fight or flight. They're in anxious mode. Maybe something happened before they came to school that morning. No matter what, their students might be coming in, and we need to have resources and supports to help them get their brain into thinking mode. Now, you might be wondering, what can we do if a student comes in and they've already experienced something traumatic? What can we do as a building to help facilitate them into the thinking mode? And to that, I say, great question. And an answer to that would be common language. Now, if you don't have common language in your schools, I would highly encourage you, and common expectations, I'd highly encourage you to get a system into your school with these common languages. Now, here's the Edison Solutions. That's my old school. I created this from scratch and anyone can do it. But what this is this common language is posted in our hallways at our school. It's posted in all the classrooms. I provide a training to the teachers, to the paras, to everyone in the building, to the students. And everyone knows what the common language and the common expectations are within the school. And the reason for that, the reason why it's so important, I should say, is imagine it. A student is coming with a flip lid and they're anxious, they're scared, angry, all sorts of emotions. If they come into the building and every single classroom has a different expectation, then they don't know what to predict. We want to make sure that school is as predictable as possible. We want the students to know if they do this, they can expect this to happen, and that's just the expectations. And so the idea is if the students come in knowing what the common expectations are, maybe you have a poster of the common expectations at your main entrance, they're going to be, it's scientifically proven, they're going to be able to come into the building and they're going to more quickly be able to transition into thinking mode because they know what to expect. They don't have to predict any random, and they know how to stay safe and follow what the common expectations, right? Now, this goes even one step further in the sense of, let's say a student does something, instead of a teacher being punitive, they can also reference the common expectations of the school. Let's say a student steals basketball at recess. And so the teacher can go and say, wait a second, is stealing basketball a part of our expectations, our solutions? And then the teacher, instead of being punitive and getting onto the student, can reference the poster and find a solution, right? Because we want the students not to get in trouble and not to learn anything. We want them to think about their actions and to think about solutions they can use in the future. So that brings me into my next point of restorative justice. Restorative justice says that instead of providing discipline and punitive measures to students, we provide them with the opportunities to express themselves and to find solutions. Now, you might be wondering, how's that helpful? Think about it. If the student gets detention for doing something that goes against the expectations, what does that student learn, and what does the victim, how are they finding a solution to that? No one wins in that scenario. The student who caused the problem will not have learned how to fix it, and the student who's the victim never received a closing solution to help them find forgiveness. So the idea with restorative justice is you have your teachers, a school counselor, a leader, just an adult, help facilitate a conversation between the perpetrator student and the victim student. And as you can see, I'm in the background just wearing my handy dandy shades, and that picture is very intentional. As a teacher facilitator, my goal of restorative justice isn't to tell the students what to say, just to help guide and facilitate and make sure that the conversation is on a productive path. And so you just take a step back and you let the students look at each other in the face and have a conversation. So typically how it would go is, as a facilitator, I might invite the perpetrator in and state the victim student. So Timmy was wanting to have a conversation with you, Tommy, about something that happened earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and let Timmy take control of this conversation right now. And so then I'll have the victim student share what happened and how that made them feel. So Timmy may say something along the lines of, "It makes me feel sad that you broke my pencil, Tom." And Tom might respond to Timmy by a statement of, "I do not remember breaking a pencil." The goal of having a restorative justice opportunity is not to get the student to tell the truth. It's not to get the student in trouble. The goal is for the student, even if they don't admit it, for the perpetrator to understand how the victim felt in that scenario. And so then the conversation will move on to Timmy. Timmy, what kind of solution would you like to see? And so Timmy can say many things, whatever they feel. And he might say, "Can you please not break my pencil again in the future?" And Tom could respond by saying, "Yeah, I agree to not breaking your pencil." The idea is, even if Tom doesn't acknowledge the truth, at least he knows what to expect in the future, and he knows how the victim feels. And so he has to acknowledge that inside his heart of hearts, and the victim is able to get closure in the scenario. So by implementing these tools and these resources, the students who have experienced ACEs, they're still going to have the baggage on their shoulder. But by providing these tools, hopefully we can make that incline of the hill just slightly easier for the students to learn how to live with these traumatic experiences and to grow to still become successful adults and career-bound citizens. So if you'd like to see some of the resources that I use, please find them here. But thank you guys so much for listening to what I had to say. You guys are fantastic. And you guys make today a great rest of your day. And until next time, bye, guys.